have no intention of seeing a Marvel movie in theaters this year, except for maybe Fantastic Four because of Pedro Pascal.
Okay.
But
get you
like
in. All
America's
right.
sweetheart.
Sure. Pedro Pascal will bring us all back to the theaters.
Could
Agreed.
be. It could be. It could be.
Welcome to the Ankler Podcast. I'm Elaine Lowe, author of the series Business Newsletter. This week, we're talking movies. What a concept for an entertainment news pod. We'll get into movies abroad, movies at home. I'm talking the Cannes Film Festival, as well as summer blockbuster season, and how the market for both tentpoles and indies are shifting dramatically. Joining me this week are Sean McNulty of The Wake Up, who has some intriguing Marvel math for us, and Ashley Cullens of Dealmakers, who's going to tell us about Mubi money and why the movie market is turning a corner. You guys like what I did there with the alliteration?
That's M-U-B, Mubi money, just for the cheap seats, right?
I wasn't mispronouncing.
I'm impressed that you got through that without messing up.
Stumbling over myself.
Elaine's a professional. Come on.
Thank you. That's what they pay me the big bucks for.
Exactly.
Sean, are you a big Marvel guy or a DC guy or both?
We've established you're the expert on this pod for this whole genre. So from a business point of view, yes. From a movie point of view, I saw Iron Man and I maybe saw one other movie.
Oh my God, that was 2008.
I was there at the beginning. Thank you very much. So I got the gist, and I'm like, I get it.
They invented the wheel in Iron Man.
Go forth and make billions of dollars. Go right ahead.
What about you, Ashley? You big on Marvel?
I like the snarky ones. So original Avengers and Deadpool are more my speed.
Okay. As our horror movie expert, that tracks.
That I would like the super violent one, yeah.
Yeah, anything violence, Ashley's in. I've seen Deadpool, though. I've seen the Deadpool movies. Sorry, I don't count those as Marvel films, so that I'm in on those. But
all right, well, let's talk prestige film first, fancy films. Ashley, I hear you actually have bullish news for folks working in Hollywood. I kept reading headlines that business was slow at Cannes, but you talked to some big-time agents who said that things are looking up.
Yeah, everybody I talked to was super optimistic. Like Janice DM'd me and was like, was it grim? Like, is the vibe super grim? And I'm like, no, actually, like people are thrilled. I haven't heard people this upbeat in ages. It's wild.
Talk to us about Mubi. For the uninitiated, what is Mubi? Not to be confused with Tubi, an ad-supported free streaming service. To your point from the other week, Sean, that I think they're running out of names.
That's a merger idea. I think we're missing out on something here. So just for the record, so yeah.
So Mubi is one of the newer distributors in the game. It is largely a streaming platform, but they are doing theatrical as well. They distributed The Substance last year. They put a lot of effort behind the awards push for that, and had success there. So that really sort of put them on the map, I think, with a broader subset of both Hollywood and consumers.
And they have some new money, right?
Yeah, they're in the middle of raising, I think it's still going on, $100 million, in fresh cash.
People new cash. People new cash at markets. They're always very excited to talk to them, I think, when they have some money in the door there.
Okay, so it's nouveau riche Mubi. It's been a real statement year for them, according to your story, Ashley, with a $24 million acquisition of a film called Die, My Love. Okay, what's this movie about? Why is it worth $24 million?
Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson.
Okay, so fine.
Elaine's such an easy sell.
I am. I'm easy.
Part of the reason why people are so excited is because this is like an art film. It's an art film with movie stars and awards potential. So it's like the trifecta. And movie stars open movies. Like you need people
hopefully
to go into theaters, hopefully.
Isn't that debatable these days, Sean?
I mean, it's independent films. That's your track record has a lot of carnage on it. I'll put it that way for sure. But and this movie, Ashley, is I think about postpartum depression, if I'm not mistaken. Was that the theme of the movie?
I have not seen it, but I did see an interview where the director, Lynn Ramsey, said that everybody who is saying it's about postpartum depression is missing the point.
It's missing the point. Okay,
it's something about a relationship collapsing, and the relationship is between J. Law and Robert
Pattinson. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, different track than The Substance for sure. But yeah, I mean it's a big number. I mean even like for like Netflix money, that's pretty. That's beyond that. Like Sundance numbers is bigger. 24 million is a lot. I mean it's global rights, I think. So it's not just the U.S. et cetera.
Yeah, Netflix dropped $4 million on a Richard Linklater movie for
French
this
movie.
Year.
Yeah.
It is in French, and they did pay a lot for his last one, which didn't exactly do well.
Hitman was the yeah.
But the J-Lo movie,
they're in business together.
That's in English.
Yes, that is in
Oh,
English.
okay.
Yes,
For a second
yes.
there, I was like
No.
processing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about how Mubi's strategy is sort of reminiscent of the early days of the streaming wars, where like the cool kid has to kind of come in flashy to get a seat at the table, and they've took a huge swing on the substance, which paid off, and now they're spending real money, so they've got everybody's attention.
Okay, so Ashley, the substance, speaking of the substance, that was acquired before Cannes last year for about $12 million, had a reported budget of about $17.5 million, and that wound up doing really well at the box office. I think it's worldwide about $77 million total at the end.
That sounds right. Yeah, it's
Right, Sean?
like one of those things where you have to do more than the double the budget is success now, because that multiple has changed. But it was like definitely a win at the box office.
International did rather huge. I mean, US did very well too, but scored big on the global stage.
But what are we seeing in terms of deals these days? Like you'd mentioned one agent and the deals that are crossing his desk are, I mean, there's a pretty wide range between single and double digits, right?
Yeah, 3 to 15 for indies, with the majority being between 5 and 12 is the goal. The problem, and a couple of people talked to me about this, like there's a bit of a disconnect in the market because budgets keep creeping up, and investors and distributors want to minimize risk. And
Well,
so
Robert
if you have
Pattinson doesn't come cheap, so.
Yeah, the two of them.
Fair.
Yeah.
But for non-Robert Pattinson movies, like something that the market values at 12 million, that's priced at 16 because of, a longer than necessary shoot or above the line talent pay, like that's sort of creating a disconnect between buyers and sellers in the market right now. But otherwise, like buyers are wanting to buy things. Like people are excited about movies again, it seems like.
Which is amazing. People being excited about movies, people wanting to buy movies. What is this, 2012? I don't actually know if 2012 was the right comp.
Going back a little far. Yeah, it sounded good, Elaine. You kind of
did that sound right, Sean?
It's not bad. Not bad.
I'm a TV person, okay, guys? But no, Ashley, like, what was the major takeaway from Cannes then? Like, what should we know about the business? What does this signal about the health of the overall film market and the indie market in particular?
That people are willing to spend money and take swings on good projects. That's what you keep hearing, quality. Like, people want things that work. Somebody told me that if you stop and think about it, there haven't been any good movies that were given a proper theatrical release and marketed well that have failed. There have been things that have done well despite not being good, and there have been things that are not good that didn't do well, but quality projects are not failing. And that seems to be sort of like that's finally really sinking in a little bit.
All right. Fair enough.
But also, like, Ashley, just like the changing of the buyers. Like, this is the big thing. I mean, it's Cannes, so it's not Sundance or TIFF, which can be a little more, American friendly. And the films bought by Neon and Mubi were often very international in nature here. So this is, kind of a global festival. But Neon and Mubi were the only people buying things. A24, you heard nothing. A24's model has just changed so much where they're like, I'm sure they were there, but they weren't picking up any of these movies anymore. And then like the Searchlights and Focuses of the world are definitely not playing in this, or seemingly playing in this realm. So it's really interesting to see the new, the two names that were everywhere were those two companies, which 3 years ago would not have even been, a conversation. So that's what struck out most to me, Ashley. It was like, there's just new players here, new energy, which I think is probably what people were responding to. Bleecker Street also still very active here as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of players. Like obviously Neon is huge.
Yeah, I mean they had the past 5 Palme d'Or winners, so yeah, right.
6.
Or 6, sorry.
Now.
Pardon me, 6.
Our Palme d'Oracle, Tom Quinn.
Right.
And they're, part of the reason why they were so active is that they've always been interested in international films.
Yeah.
So one of the things that people were saying, like when people are talking about the Cannes market being slow, it's like, well, if you look at what was there, it was very international leaning. There weren't a ton of films that are easy sells for American audiences, and that they expected, the streamers to come in the weeks to follow. And that's exactly what happened with, Linklater and Netflix.
Right. That was after
just after the festival ended.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like coming out of the European film market, EFM in Berlin, which was February, like, because I track every day, I see, all the announcements and the trades of, so-and-so was, this actor, back to like the actors sell, right? And, I've seen a lot of American A-list actors attached to projects that were going to the EFM that didn't quite come out. And those movies generally then go on to Cannes and try and sell there. And they're clearly not the ones that were selling here. So it's like, I wonder if TIFF will be a little more active this year in any of that regard as a result. But I don't know. But
and some of that is pricing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Where it's like, you know what, these people are attached and they want their checks, and the market's coming back and being like, look, specialty's still challenged. Like, every weekend in the box office I track, I'm like, yeah, it's great when Lilo and Stitch and MI8 are doing great, but that specialty market is still, making anywhere near $10 million is a feat. That's just 10 million. Some of these price tags you're talking about, 15, $12 million, you got to be getting to, so at least over $20 million to kind of start making your money back. And the math is getting a little fuzzier in that regard. And you need to have the international pie, Ashley, to like, all right, I'm going to sell it to all these markets and I'm going to sell this off. And my U.S. exposure is a lot smaller than maybe it was before, say pre-COVID times, Ashley. So,
well, we've been talking a lot about actors, but Ashley, you actually said that directors are the new IP here.
Yeah. And I can't fully take credit for that. When I talked to Deborah McIntosh from WME Independent, we were talking about Sinners and sort of how that has impacted deal discussions. And I didn't put any of it into this week's newsletter because it was very indie focused. And that was, a $90 million movie. But we were talking about how things being not based on IP isn't necessarily the correct takeaway from why Sinners is successful. Again, quality, it's very good. It's also sort of genre leaning. But she said, Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan in combination is their own kind of IP.
Yeah.
Like, when they're working together, it's going to be good.
People are coming out.
And so I took that idea, and other people had mentioned that buyers want directors. They're seeing directors as safer bets for investments than actors now. And so, yeah, in a sense, directors have sort of become the new IP.
Yeah, and Sean Baker with Nora was like that kind of like, plays into that because obviously his name drove a lot of initial business for that film, I think, too, last year. So the takeaways there. Yeah, that was interesting.
Speaking of Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, we're still going to be talking about them after the break because they were part of a little franchise called Black Panther by a little company called Marvel. So when we get back, let's talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and why, actually, some of those massive movies just aren't raking in as much money as they used to, but where some bright spots might potentially still be in the industry. We'll catch you in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Elaine Lowe in Los Angeles, coming to you from the heart of Hollywood.
And I'm Minori Ravindran in London, reporting from the UK about the international market.
Together, we write the Series Business newsletter for The Ankler.
Series Business is a twice-weekly newsletter for paid subscribers to The Ankler that dives deep into everything you need to know about the rapidly evolving TV industry.
We've got an insider's perspective on where the jobs are, what's selling in the market, who's buying what kinds of shows, the new bottom line for budgets, and, of course, any and all industry shakeups.
Join us every Monday and Thursday for all the essential information you need for your job and career. Sign up to receive Series Business as part of a paid subscription on theankler.com.
All right, we're back from the break. This is Elaine Lowe here with Sean McNulty and Ashley Cullens, our movie maestros. It's time to talk Marvel. There are 36 or 37 total films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we're now in phase 5 of the MCU. That is a lot of movies. Sean, Ashley, what's your favorite Marvel movie of all time?
I'm just going to go Deadpool because that's one I've probably seen. That's really about it. So
Deadpool and
I'll go with the last one. I thought
Wolverine?
the last one, I'd put that up for an Oscar in my book. I mean, that was, that was the Best Picture nominee in my mind. That was a tough needle to thread third time out. I love that movie. So that was great. Oh, they're all great, but that's probably my favorite one.
All right, Ashley?
Yeah, like I said, I do love the snark. I like the Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. vibe.
Classic.
I love Deadpool. Black Panther made me cry. And I don't think any of the other Marvel movies have made me cry. So like that hits in a different way for me.
No, I agree. There was something about the 2018 to like 2022 period where they were just really hitting something with their movies between like Black Panther and Shang-Chi, which that movie made me ugly cry.
Oh.
Yeah, they were really hitting some of their stride there. But, Marvel's been recently at a real turning point. Sean, you tallied up some calculations here and found that from 2010, when Iron Man 2 was released and Marvel Madness was really getting underway with that third film of the MCU, all the way up until COVID hit in 2020, only one live-action Marvel film grossed less than $450 million worldwide. But since the pandemic, when theaters spent most of their last 5 years or so struggling, only 9 of the 18 Disney and or Sony Marvel movies have made more than $450 million at the box office. I mean, and even if we bump off all of those like terribly received Spider-Man universe,
three
picks,
of those,
all the
so
Sony
we'll call
stuff,
it 9 of 15.
9 of 15,
generous,
right?
yeah.
Let's pretend like Mobius, Madam Web, and Kraven the Hunter do not exist. That's still 9 of 15, which is like not bad,
Yeah,
but it's like not
compared to
its heyday.
Before, especially considering inflation, which, that might, so it's just not even put that into the
That's
mix,
true.
at all. So when you factor that in, yeah, I mean, it's, this isn't, obviously we've kind of coming out of COVID and there's, I think 3 films in 2021 and people are like, what's the audience going to come back? Are people going to even go to movies anymore? Was a legit, not legit question, but a question people were throwing around.
Legit, yeah.
And those movies came back and they really played a big role in getting movies back on their feet. And those were doing, I think, anywhere from say 4 to 450 was kind of the global on those, which, coming out of COVID was, okay, this is pretty good. And then 2022, we had Doctor Strange, we had, a few other films, bigger films coming out with Thor 4, I guess it was. And those were doing kind of the old numbers. So you had 900, 760, I was like, oh, okay, the Marvel of the COVID era is returning. And then it just like went ice cold. And it's like, it's been since then. And that's, honestly, that's kind of when Marvel started, or Disney, or whoever you want to say, flooded the zone on Disney Plus with all the series and became homework. And it's like cause and effect as you like. It was the quality of the films.
Say, is that really the causation though?
The numbers are the numbers. So I'm just kind of doing an arc of like, when did the casual fan kind of turn out? They didn't come out for every Marvel film anymore. So that did happen. So I can't argue that number with the numbers, because then by the time 2023 came, they were back down outside of Guardians, which was it's kind of its own thing. Volume was the last of the 3 movies, and kind of has
Volume
its own
3
rules,
came out in 2023.
like Deadpool, and has its own kind of thing. They were going back down that 400 range. We had of course, the Marvels was 200 million, a kind of disaster. And now we've had evidence this year. It's like, okay, you can put that off to whatever. Deadpool and Wolverine is its own thing. Obviously, it came out and was a big, Bob Iger was like, we're not releasing films in 2024 except for Deadpool. All right, we're going to reset back to quality, Elaine. Of course, even, on the earnings calls, we've got a little over our skis, whatever it might be. We've had 2 films this year. What have they grossed? Low $400 million. And it's like, all right, what's the audience kind of telling you here? And I think that's what I was looking at the data, like, because it's in my head of like, what do these films do now, and how much? I'm looking, how much do you spend? Back to even the independent conversations, Ashley, right? How much do you spend? How much are you making back? And they're kind of barely breaking even. If you want to include marketing money, they're really not. They're kind of losing money theatrically. And these were movies that used to make, bank. These things would be, bangers all the time. So,
and they haven't really had shorter theatrical windows, except
Disney,
for like Black
Disney,
Widow, right?
Well, Black Widow had the day and date,
right?
With,
the day and date online,
Scarlett Johansson and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's not a factor of like NBCU, which has cut their windows. Disney has kept at least a 60-day, if not even longer, window before they come to digital or streaming. So that's the evidence. I kind of tallied it up. Ashley, what do you think?
So when you look at, I'm about to share 2 thoughts from 2 lawyers several months apart. But I think when you think about them together, makes it all make sense, right? So I had a lawyer tell me last year when we were talking about AI. So this was pre-Thunderbolts, pre-anything that has come out in the last 6 months or so.
Yeah.
That if you told him the last 5 Marvel movies had been written by AI, he'd believe you. And so I think that there is a statement on quality there. And then somebody told me last week that if Thunderbolts had come out 5 years ago before Marvel fatigue hit in, that it would have been a monster hit because it's actually really good.
That's the one, Ashley. Yeah.
Over it.
That's what I mean. It's exactly right. We get Captain America 4. Yeah, no one was raving about that movie. Venom 3 was not, getting in anybody's shortlist for the Oscars. But Thunderbolts delivered. It had 2 weeks to itself. Everybody cleared out of the way. It was the old Marvel Memorial Day. I mean, start of summer, slot, and we're 4 weeks into the summer. It hasn't even made back its production budget yet. Like that, and again, it's a new franchise, more or less, that kind of thing.
What do you attribute to other movies overshadowing its run? I mean, I'm just thinking of what a monster Minecraft still is right now.
Right.
But that was also the first one. Right? Like there hadn't been a Minecraft movie, and that's a similar audience, but so it was new.
Yeah,
in a way.
Right. Like to what extent was that cannibalizing some of the potential Thunderbolts box office?
Oh, no, that was a month apart. I mean, if anything, Sinners was the one after that. I mean, but that had 3 weeks out. So there wasn't even, the weekend before was The Accountant 2. It wasn't even like which did fine.
So there wasn't much of an excuse, basically.
It had the box office to itself for 2 weekends, and then Final Destination came in. You can maybe argue a little bit of that because that overperformed, but I think it's a pretty different audience than, the Marvel thing per se. So yeah, I mean, that's, obviously we have Fantastic Four coming in July, and that's going to be, I think, like, listen, maybe that'll turn. Maybe that's the one that will get back up to $600 to $800 million global. But if that one also comes in around $400 to $500 million, it's like, I think the audience is telling you, unless it's a Deadpool one-off, or we have the Avengers coming obviously in 2026, which again should do this box office thing. But how much do you spend on these other movies that aren't Avengers and Deadpool? And I think that's kind of the question I was kind of like asking in the piece. And what's the audience telling you that we're going to support it this much, but that casual audience that was coming out, Elaine, that you were going to see all the films in the 2010s, you are not going out to see every movie now.
Okay, but what do we attribute this to? Marvel fatigue versus struggling box office in general?
That's the thing. I mean, they haven't changed the windows. Like, that's the argument of like the struggling box office. That's the only thing where you say, oh, it's not in theaters as many days as the old ones were. Like, okay, you can pitch me that argument. I'm not going to say going to buy it, but I'm like, all right, maybe some of it's shifted to PVOD, home rental money. But when the movies don't go to PVOD for 60, 75, 90 days, I'm like, you're not pitching me that all the money's moved there.
But does it track with the broader movie-going trends? Right? Like, are we also seeing a similar downshift broadly?
Minecraft's doing almost $1 billion. Like, other films
seems more of an anomaly, no? I mean, isn't that partly why everybody's making such a big deal out of his performance? Not every kid's movie does those numbers.
But they can. I'm saying it's not like people aren't coming out to that degree. It's just like, there's potential. Like, because that's your question you're asking, I think, is what's the ceiling? And if you're like, oh, well, these movies just don't make this much anymore. I'm like, no, they can. They do. These other ones just don't get to the levels they were getting to before. You've lost an audience here. Ashley, am I missing something? Maybe I'm missing. I don't know.
I think it's that there was a sense that they were phoning it in for a while, and you finally got a good one again, and it just got unlucky.
Your reputation gets hurt, right, Ashley? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I have no intention of seeing a Marvel movie in theaters this year, except for maybe Fantastic Four because of Pedro Pascal.
Okay,
but
get you
like
in.
America's
Pedro
Sweetheart.
Pascal will bring us all back to the theaters.
Could be.
Agreed.
It could be. Look, I will be open to that evidence as much as anybody. And Fantastic Four's track record isn't great. The lowest grossing film of all Marvels is pretty much the last Fantastic Four, which only made $168 million global or something. I'm like, wow, that in 2015, like that movie just missed. But we'll see what this one does. And you have Matt Shackman directing WandaVision, of course, is great. And you have Pedro Pascal, and they're kind of selling it. I don't know if you've seen the advertising yet. They're selling it like very family friendly, and obviously there's the pregnancy theme in the in the plot.
You're late.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean? You're late for dinner.
Yes, we are.
You're late? I just said that. Are you pregnant? What? You're gonna be the best mom in the world. And you are gonna be the best dad. Just kidding. You are out of your depth. We are gonna be the best uncles ever.
They're really going for like bring the whole family, where Thunderbolts was a little edgier, we've talked about in the pod. And it's like this one, they're going very much old Marvel, come bring everybody, come back kind of thing. So,
well, I mean, that's smart, right? Because I stopped going to theaters for a while. The last 6 movies I've seen, 3 have been Sonic, Dogman, and Minecraft.
Yeah.
Okay, but you and I also have children, so that skews
but that's what I'm saying. Like they're saying smart to appeal
bring your
to
kids
parents.
back. Yeah. And that could be it. I mean, look, the Marvel audience, was largely, largely millennial. Maybe they were going to see those films in the 2010s. You know what? 2020s, I got kids. I'm not going to see every Marvel film anymore. There could be an element of that societal thing.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're not wrong there. I had more time and disposable income in 2011 than I do now.
So that could also be a societal factor, but because again, ownership, right, Elaine? Like, these are our movies, and we're going to come out for everyone. I'm not speaking for all Gen X, so the Gen X sees these movies, but we didn't grow up with them. We're your generation. That was this. You both came of age at the same time into the world, and you have an affinity for it. That maybe now it's like, hey, bro, just don't have it. I got kids at home.
Yeah, no, now it's all lava chicken all the time.
Yeah. So. Oh God, you just traumatized Ashley.
Sorry, Ashley.
I had to find it on Spotify yesterday in the car, and it was stuck in my head for the rest of the day.
And rewatched the Minecraft movie last night. That's where we are.
Oh God.
See, this is why it's working. There you go, evidence right here. This is what the movie's. So maybe Fantastic Four is the one. Maybe this is the movie. And Ashley, you're totally right.
That
Disney's
we bring
very,
the kids
very
to. Maybe.
That maybe there's, I don't know if the movie lives up to that or not.
I think you might be onto something there with the millennial track here. It's not that the Marvel movies have gotten worse. It's that millennials have gotten too busy and tired.
Busier.
Yeah. Got shit to
And
do,
now
man.
our kids are maybe not quite old enough to be seeing some of
Right.
these.
And that's, yeah.
They don't care about that stuff yet.
Yeah, they're not PG movies by generally speaking. So, yeah.
Although I will say, looking at all the Phase 5 MCU movies that I did not watch, I did note that during that era, basically all the Marvel TV series that came out, pandemic era and post-pandemic, I've actually seen most of them on Disney Plus. You know, you look at Loki, Agatha All Along, X-Men 97, like those that came out strictly during Phase 5, and even those that came out a little bit before. Obviously, WandaVision was huge. Moon Knight, Hawkeye, She-Hulk, first season of Loki. And they were all quality. I mean, like, I don't know, theory, like Marvel TV has been better than Marvel movies post-COVID?
I've seen every episode of Spidey and His Amazing Friends 300 times.
Just by yourself, without the
just
children.
by yourself. Yeah, exactly. I don't know that, who's dictating that viewership there. But you're right, Elena, it's, again, home viewing. And again, maybe these films are playing extremely well on Disney Plus. They don't release the numbers. So it could be that, maybe they are watching them when they come to Disney Plus and they're bigger hits.
But yeah, maybe there's something to the idea that Marvel TV, I mean, they've obviously, the TV series have changed a lot, and the structure of how things work on the TV division have changed over the years too. But it's like, it's a very different era from, the Daredevil or whatever kind of series were on broadcast TV. Although I will defend Agent Carter within an inch of my life. That was a classic. I rewatched it every now and then.
This is crazy. I know.
But But, in Ashley's Can coverage, I want to say, you said that directors are the new IP. Sean, how do you feel that holds up in the Marvel world? Like, there's no shortage of famous names who have helmed Marvel movies, from Ryan Coogler to James Gunn to the Russo brothers. Do you think directors bring out people for superhero movies or no?
That's interesting. I mean, Matt Shackman, like, WandaVision is a beloved and did very well, a big series. I wonder if they're going to put his name out there from the director of WandaVision in the advertising. I can't say outside of, Coogler's the big name. Obviously that kind of comes to mind here.
But like, Ryan Coogler isn't a superhero movie director.
Right. He was a director who happened to direct a superhero movie.
Yeah.
But I will say, if Fantastic Four works, it's one factor, and that is Pedro.
There's one takeaway from this podcast. Yeah. I just want to see David Fincher do a Marvel film. I think that would be really interesting. That would be.
Sean will come out for that one.
I'm coming out for that one. All right. I'm on the record for that. So, yeah, there we go.
Well, before we close out this week's episode, what news from the box office, Sean? What's on tap this weekend?
Anybody for a little Karate Kid? Speaking of things from your youth, maybe?
Oh, the Jackie Chan one?
Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio together here.
Yeah.
So a little bit of combo. Are you a Cobra Kai person, Elaine, or no?
Not really. Although we did recently show the kids the original Karate Kid, and they got super into it.
It played good, right?
Yeah, it played well. Plays well with the elementary school set.
My kid, who turns 7 on Friday, actually just had his first karate lesson on Monday because we saw the new Karate Kid trailer before Minecraft and then watched the original Karate Kid at home. And so now he's all about karate.
He's into it. Yeah. Karate still works. It's just, it has plenty of, and Joshua Jackson is in this doing a bunch of moves as well, which I wasn't quite aware of. So that was kind of fun to see.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he had a training montage on like New York City subways. It was a lot of fun. So
you got to have a training montage. It's not a Karate Kid. A couple of them
in that movie. So yeah, it's not the best around. Like, doesn't equal the classics in my mind. But you're never going to win me over on that one. The original still has a charm and a point of view to it that nothing's going to take my heart away from that.
One note: after we saw the original Karate Kid movie, Ralph Macchio's new home in Encino or whatever, Reseda, where they move to when they move out here. So my husband actually went and took my kids to that apartment complex after.
It's still here?
Yeah, it's still here.
Oh,
and he was like, look, this is like where the Karate Kid lived. And my kids were like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, cultural significance.
Right. Elaine's like, I baked these things for you. Like, yeah, great. Thanks, Mom. That's
we're going to Reseda.
Yeah, we're going to Reseda. Look at the old apartment building where Daniel LaRusso grew up. Yeah, exactly. So we shall see.
That's a wrap on this week's Ankler podcast. I'm Elaine Lowe. Don't forget to visit theankler.com to subscribe to our whole suite of newsletters and podcasts for the latest industry insights. If you like this pod, please do make sure to leave us a rating and review wherever you get your pods. You can also follow The Ankler on social media at The Ankler on all major platforms. Thanks again to Sean McNulty and Ashley Cullens for joining today. And as always, big thanks to you all for listening. See you next week.